And then the game just begins. I like that, setting the tone of an AI dystopian future. The year is 2192 AD. The system administrative computer, ALLTYNEX, goes berserk upon the serial system's activation, and 85% of humanity is wiped out within 72 hours. The remnants of humanity escape to the outer reaches of space, coping with the complete loss of civilization. The game takes place years after, once humanity manages to scrounge up enough resources to launch a counter-offensive. The player ship is one out of 108 crafts developed to take back Earth. This is humanity's last chance. The intro really only explains a small piece of this complex backstory, giving a motive to the player as to what they're doing. Everything else has to be interpreted throughout the stages, enemies and bosses faced, leaving storytelling to the environment, though it's a bit difficult to parse everything that's happening when the player is dodging for their life. For better or worse, I believe Shmups has the highest potential of showcasing presentation only a video game can do. I didn't expect myself getting engrossed in this genre as I did, at least with some of the titles. I was always on the hunt for what really separates players' skill. Theories in my head of why the games of today pale in comparison to the games of yesteryears, and I could never put my finger on the missing element of why I enjoyed the simplistic gameplay of something made in developers' spare time compared to the hours-long journey I could take in the theme park of unlimited fun. Video essayists gush over the stories of commonly known Final Fantasy VII or Killer 7, but gameplay and how that gameplay interacts is always a footnote somewhere in this several-hour-long adventure. And 7 minutes in Ikaruga on my first playthrough and I'm already hooked with Stockholm Syndrome, but I need to find a girl that won't abuse me. It was when I discovered the Electric Underground and one chart later and I'm playing Danpachis, R-types, and everything in between. The gameplay in this genre is dense, fun even, but the ceiling of what would be the game in video game is severely hampered by the lack of player expression. Commonly there are 3 ship types, but they relatively play the same, and what the shmup community calls routing. The order in which to chain for highest score is always the same, with very few differences in how it's achieved. There's nothing really incentivizing the player to get that high score, as opposed to reaching the end with a weary sigh of relief and saying, never again. The game is there, but the video part is missing. And the genre has definitely evolved sideways. The common threads tying one evolution in the genre to another being solely within its scoring and stripping down player choice to 1 out of 3. The need to intensely memorize through trial and error and mistakes from difficulty that the player has no way of even reacting properly to is unfortunately the death of shmups. But what does this have to do with ALLTYNEX Second? Heh. Because this game is Ninja Gaiden, baby! But back to my point. Blader shmups are shmups that give the player a sword or other means of cutting bullets out of the air, only reserving a special type of bullet that the player is able to thwack. ALLTYNEX is one of these, and despite a scoring mechanic being linked to using the blade, its level design also incentivizes the player to move and choose in order to survive. While it isn't wrong to drop the player in the deep end, without the proper means of defense, it creates a frustrating experience that at least I can only tolerate once. Bombing is plentiful in shmups that are in Toho, however they are only a temporary and very limited solution, incentivizing routing proper through being tedious and frustrating. Sorry Danpachi, you are simply too dense for me. There's something here in Blader shmups. The fine balance in player and enemy disparity turns the game into character action, giving a solid reason for the player to get better, since now the means to victory aren't needing to watch a 1cc completion, and Slam continues in quarters to learn. Cut! Editor blank here. I also wanted to mention that the game has a tutorial which explains its tutorial mechanics and how to utilize it for high score. That is extremely helpful in a shmup. ALLTYNEX is pretty generous, probably making the perfect ship to control. You have your standard shot and a blade, but in shooter form you can hold down both buttons to shoot homing missiles, and in blader form both buttons allows you to fire a devastating laser. Both take energy, but the latter drains more, a design that makes for natural risk-reward for how you confront enemies. Either go in deep to quickly finish off cruisers, or stay at a safe distance until the screen is clear of bullets. It's up to you how you want to solve each situation. and high score junkies have their cake as well. In fact, the scoring system is so intuitive that it makes for a natural transition for a regular player to get a high score. The blade is very fun to use, creating a natural progression of wanting to get more aggressive as you get better at the game. I also want to tangent the glorious presentation. The cinematic shots of this game are amazing. The camera pans around to show what you're up against, whether it be wide shots of space stations or angling low to show the boss flying past your ships. Stage 3 boss has to be my favorite one of these. Slowly your ship descends while avoiding its laser cannon. It's only a dojin game, yet its visuals blows Cave's best hits out of the water. Ikaruga is similarly beautiful too. I suppose that's the power of 3D design. Although the game is sometimes too gorgeous to look at. At times I mistake the foreground for the background, leading to funny deaths when my eyes are focused on the enemy. In a way, I like to think that was intentional, using spatial awareness against use, since most shmups only use backgrounds as a painting and nothing more. Unlike horizontal shmups that use the full advantage of a left-right perspective. The set pieces really make you feel like the one hope humanity has left, with the ALLTYNEX system throwing everything at you. Even with a shield and a blade, the bullet patterns this game sends your way are still going to require you to learn a tag. You got your bullet curtains, lasers, curved lasers, and wait, what? Yeah, this game isn't pulling its punches. ALLTYNEX wants you dead, and that's the greatest feeling to face off against. Just you against the entire world! The soundtrack is dense, largely being rearrangements of the original FM Town OST. Can you hear the resemblance? The presentation of this game far surpasses its original, making ALLTYNEX Second one of the few remakes that can replace the original game in my opinion. Not that the original doesn't have value, but come on, look at it. On an FM town? What is an FM town? With the stage 5 boss defeated, I am satisfied. The questions I have for the genre shmups are left up in the air. Player retention for the genre is in the same state as fighting games. That is, the gameplay alienating newer audiences. Fighting games have taken the route of simplifying its mechanics to a degree where it's no longer recognizable. Despite being new to shmups, I'm glad developers haven't taken the same approach, however, innovating at a slower pace. I want to stress the importance of presentation of shmups. There's a billion of them, and I can't imagine they take a certain amount of years to make, but a screenshot of one looks like another one. Not really identified as its own besides setting and maybe the ship you control. Ikaruga is striking in ways Danpachi is not, having its own aesthetic unique to it and only it. These are just my thoughts on the genre as a whole. Don't let my ideas discourage you from playing traditional shmups. I still adore Danpachi for its simplicity. If ALLTYNEX interests you, then you should definitely pick it up. The other two games in this series, Reflex and Kamoi, are more in the same vein of a cave title, though I haven't gotten around to those two yet.